kicked that chicken as hard as I could out of there because I didn't want to get caught peeing in a trash can. I come across the Cannonball Run about 15 years ago when we were riding motorcycles. Really thought about trying to do that one day, but kids happen, life happens, moves happens, and everything just rolls around. I started doing some research when I really started to get into it because I didn't want to do it on the car, so I was looking at the motorcycle, and that's where my background comes from. First search I run across was actually Andrew Piper when he set the Santa Fe Trail from Cali to Florida. And then it took some digging to try to figure out how everybody was writing it up about Alex, because it'd say Alex Roy, it'd say Alex Horn, and I was like, are these the same guys? The pictures kind of look the same in their little articles. I'm like, all right, so like, what's his time? And that actually took a little digging because I don't know, COVID or what, everything just kind of got thrown to the wastegate because all the car records had been getting set. So I finally found it, and I reached out to the editor who did one of the articles, and he told me Alex's name and his Instagram handle. So I reached out to Alex, and so I started picking his brain a little bit. He gave me everything that he could and wished me the best of luck, told me to be safe and don't break the law. That was the hardest part, was trying to figure out what the times were. And then after that, it was my nemesis was math. Trying to figure out what I had to do and do my formulas, because the first time I saw was like 34 something. I'm like, that's not too bad. And then it got down to like a 33 or something, and I saw Alex's 32.52. I'm like, okay. So now I just kept readjusting my math just a little bit. Last year when I got serious about it, I was like, well, I got Harleys. Let's see if we can turn around, see if we can do it on one of my old Evo FXRs. So I set it up with a couple of gas cans for the saddlebags, and then I booked it all the way down to Houston. And then when I realized my fuel mileage, even though I changed sprockets and pulleys and cams, I was only getting about 17 miles per gallon running 105, 110. And then I realized it just wasn't beneficial. So I scrambled real quick, because once I got it this into my head, I'm going to do it. Sold the Harley, sold a couple other things, and I went and bought this 2008 Yamaha FJR 1300. Took it for a quick spin, cut the guy in half on price, brought it to the house, and started reaching out just a little bit on the community. And I was like, I wasn't getting a whole lot of feedback because I was new, I'd never done anything, and no one's like, I ain't gonna trust you, we're not gonna help you. So my first attempt, I set out in 2023. And when I left the Red Ball garage, I was having a good old time. I took the southern route. I wasn't having any issues. 13-gallon fuel cell was working properly. My radar detector was working great. Laser jammers, I don't know if they were effective for me or not, never went off. Everything was smooth until 20 miles east of Amarillo, and I run over a 2-cent sheet metal screw in my front tire. So pull over on the side of the road, I'm looking, it's 2:33 o'clock in the morning, run's done. So I just kind of limped the bike about 1.5 miles to a wonderful establishment, and spent the night, woke up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, started looking for people to call to try to fix my tire. Of course, being so far out of the city, no one's gonna come help you. You got truck stops, but they won't touch motorcycle tires. So I actually taught the men to let me at least roll my bike up to their bay, and then using their tools, I just plugged my front tire, and then I rode it back to Kansas, fully defeated. So that kind of stuck in my craw for quite a bit. Then this past winter, I turned around and got a little more serious about it, so I kind of made a cryptic post on the group, and some folks had heard about my previous run where I caught the flat tire, and they're like, hey, I'd love to help you out in New York. I'd love to help you in Ohio. I'd love to help you in Colorado or this or that. It just kind of all started to snowball into this great community that was reaching out to help me, and I've never met any of these folks in person. I had a couple of guys from Colorado want to come help service my motorcycle a couple of weeks prior. We did spark plugs, fluids, the whole 9 yards. And everything was still dependent, because on a motorcycle, it's not like being in a car. You got lots of weather to contend with. And April was when I wanted to do it because it was still a nice, cool month. Bike runs better, gets better fuel mileage. I'm not sweating my butt off. I'm not having to drink 15 bottles of water from A to B. When I got to New York, it was still all dependent on northern route, southern route, northern route, southern route. And on my way up, because my goal was to leave on a Friday at 10 p.m. New York time, Saturday in Colorado afternoon was 2 inches of snow to fall through the pass. Easy no-brainer. Reached out to everybody. Sorry, northern guys. Yes, I had more help with y'all. Let's go to southern route. Out of New York, I had 4 wonderful guys to help me run from the tunnel all the way into the Pennsylvania line. Had a banger on a motorcycle run me through Missouri into Oklahoma. Picked up another buddy from Oklahoma almost to Texas. When I hit the Texas-New Mexico border, I lost my rear brake on the bike. So from there to the end was no rear brake. Also from there to the end was no Bluetooth. My headset's charging port fell out. So the only way I could communicate with folks was to slow down, line up, try to send a quick 2-letter text, and then go right back to speed. The biggest downfall of that, since I've gotten so accustomed to listening to music, I had 3 songs stuck in my head for the rest of that ride. That was the J.G. Wentworth jingle, AC/DC's Hell's Bells, and Baby Shark. Baby Shark almost had me just run the bike off a damn cliff in New Mexico and everywhere else. That part just killed me. My enthusiasm was starting to drain. My mindset was starting to go because now I can't get these songs out of my head, and I can't look up and see my phone good enough to turn around and respond to folks. And so I just kept looking at my piece of cardboard I had taped to my tank, and it had my time. So each state I mapped out what my time had to be in miles per hour. So as long as I could cross this state line at 6:09 p.m. or sooner, I was doing great. If I was crossing it at 6:12, I knew I was in trouble. Everything kept going pretty good. I had some troubles with some fuel stops. That was a challenge in itself. My cards messed up twice. I had a fuel line leak on me once. But everything else all the way to the very end of the run was great. And then that last 60 miles, I had 3 motorcycles leading me in the last little bit of the way, which was super awesome because once folks learn I'm doing it on a motorcycle, man, folks were just coming out the woodwork. I got to give a shout to my buddy Tank. He was kicking that chicken with me hard as he could. But the downfall is his tail light was only about that big on the bike. And so when we topped the hill in LA, I could have sworn he got off on this exit because I knew we were getting close to the exit. I'm like, well, maybe he knows a shortcut. As I get off, I hear his bike keep going over the hill. I'm like, oh, crap. I planted that bike, 180'd it, went right back up the off-ramp to get right back on the highway because I was just mad. I'm on the last 15 miles of the run. Thankfully, I caught back up to him. I'm starting to get a little delirious at this point. I've been on the bike for just over 32 hours at this point. Been up for an hour and a half, 2 hours prior to that, getting dressed, getting ready, getting to the Red Ball, and then crossing the line. The guys who did a rental Cannonball a couple hours ahead of me had been at the Portofino for about 30, 45 minutes. And so it was like my own little cheerleading squad. As I'm coming over, everyone's just clapping and hooting and hollering. We're pissing all the people off in the Portofino because they're sleeping. It's 3:32 a.m. California time. Pull up. As soon as I take my helmet off, I go to step off the bike. Tank's girlfriend's like, how does it feel to finally be off the bike? So in my mind, it says, thank God I can stand. And what came out of my mouth was, bleh. And that was about all it wrote right there. I never had an incident with a cop really giving me any issues. Radar detectors worked great. I had one instance on a near fatality on my side. When I came going through just west of St. Louis, topped the hill, I don't know, 95, 105, just cruising, and 2 semis were in the right lane, and as soon as I topped the hill, that back semi starts to kick over, and I'm already at his rear bumper, and he just keeps kicking over, and I can't hit the brakes that hard, so I just drop a gear And next thing you know, by the time he's fully planted in the left lane, I'm on the shoulder on that 2-foot chicken strip with my knees turned around, clacking that metal guardrail. As I pulled out in front of him, I was so mad, I threw my water bottle at him, which I come to regret about 2 hours later because I was extremely thirsty. I did, however, quit drinking energy drinks, caffeine, all sugars, the whole 9 yards for about a month ahead of time. I ate a couple MREs 3-4 days ahead of time. When I started the Red Bull, I shotgunned 2 monsters real quick. So it was a really good energy boost. I had my water bottles were cut 75-25, Gatorade and Monster, which horrible taste. But I wasn't planning on trying to overhydrate myself because I wasn't wearing a catheter. I didn't want to run into the gas station to pee every time. And somehow I held my entire bathroom breaks until my last fuel stop in Kingman, Arizona. When I pulled up and I'm floating. I'm about just ready to pee my britches. I'm like, I'll just show up stinking. No one's going to hug me anyway, probably. There'll be some high fives. And the little soccer mom's filling up in her minivan with her kids, and I'm filling the bike up. And as soon as she pulls off, I hit the clicker and I peed in the trash can away from the cameras, top, and kicked that chicken as hard as I could out of there because I didn't want to get caught peeing in a trash can. My full time from start to finish was 32 hours, 32 minutes, and 50 seconds. That I was trying, it would have been so cool if it was 32. But that could have also been a little bit of me for being lackadaisical trying to hit stops. I averaged 86.8 miles an hour, including my 5 stops for fuel. The stops for fuel killed me a little bit. Doing it by myself with that big fuel cell, having to hold the bike up, spin around, and then to do the final top off because my fuel cell was mounted where the passenger would ride. And so when you're on the kickstand, you lose 2 gallons because the filler neck is in the center. So I'd fill it up about a third away, half of the way, and then I'd lug that big old girl up, spin around, and then just keep clicking, and then try to fix whatever I had up on my handlebars that had messed up from the previous go. And then try to reach it back over, hopefully get my fuel cap back on good. I had a second fuel cap in my tank bag in case I lost that one, or I dropped it, because if I dropped it at a gas station, there's no way I could have set the bike back on the kickstand with all that extra fuel and then be able to stand it up safely without falling over. That was one of my biggest issues that I was really worried about, because your legs go weak. Because right on that bike, it was mid controls, and so that was most of my stance for the majority of the way. I took some Harley handlebars and I cut them in half on the frame, and I drove them into the frame sliders just to have my feet a spot to rest. But the way the bike was set up, anything above 70 miles an hour with my feet that far forward and that high, it was real unstable. So I very, very rarely used those. But what helped me from my first run to my record run was getting rid of the foot pegs. I went and made me a set of homemade floorboards that had a really nice footprint. So instead of having just that one little bar in between the middle of your foot, now I had this nice platform to sit on that took all the pain out of my knees. The seat I had made by Russell Daylong out in California. Phenomenal. My butt did not hurt when I got to California. I didn't even think I was going to make it to California because of my previous run. I was like, well, I'm not going to waste the money and book a truck and have to cancel. I mean, yeah, it's losing $100, but I was like, it'll happen. I rode the bike back the following day back to Kansas, and my butt still did not hurt. So I cannot thank them enough for that seat. It was kind of surreal when I got to the very end. I don't think it set in on me that I actually had set the record until I made it back to Kansas. A lot of it was delirious, I think, and then, of course, lack of sleep and all that enthusiasm, and then Baby Shark just kept running through my mind still. And the hotel I stayed at didn't even have a TV, so I couldn't even get that out of my head. But the feeling of completing it safely was my biggest goal. Because I got two kids out of the house. I want to come back to them. When you start comparing, it's like comparing apples to oranges from doing it on a motorcycle to doing it on a car. Y'all can stretch out a little bit. Y'all can drink. Y'all can eat. AC, heat. Y'all can swap drivers. Y'all can talk to one another. Someone else can help look. With me, it was just me. If I zoned out too bad or I made a mistake, I wasn't coming home. But Lord willing, I turned around and made that run safely with no incidents. Ran over a fox, I think, around Pennsylvania. But coming out of that first tunnel, outside of that, that was really no issue. Safe. I was just glad to make it safe, honestly.
This month, the VINwiki Car Stories is brought to you by Extreme Experience. They give you the chance to get behind the wheel of the greatest supercars on earth at the most amazing racetracks in America. I know you'll love it. I just got the chance to drive their brand new Ferrari 296. I hadn't had the chance to drive the car. They had it in town. It was the perfect way for me to experience a great new car. But whatever your dream car is, you can drive it with Extreme Experience. It's also the perfect holiday gift for the car lover in your life. So check them out now at the link in the description below. Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Porsche, all of it. So check them out now at the link in the description below to book your next drive with Extreme Experience.